Myanmar, a democracy under siege. Put simply, democracy has died in Myanmar. That's because on February 1st of 2021, the country's government was successfully overthrown by the military. So, in today's Rooster Report, we're going to be telling you why it happened, how it happened, and what this coup means for the future of Myanmar. To understand the situation, we must first travel back in time. The story begins in 1948, when Myanmar became independent from Britain and established a parliamentary democracy. However, while things went well at first, democracy came to a screeching halt in 1962, when the military incited a coup that caused a socialist dictator to rise to power. After decades of protests, this dictator was deposed in 1988, and in 1990, free elections were held. In these elections, Myanmar's National League for Democracy won in a massive landslide. However, the military chose to ignore these results, and as a result, military control of the country continued for another 25 years. Then, after years of international pressure headed by Nobel Peace Prize winner Aung San Suu Kyi, elections were held in 2010 on the condition that 25% of seats would automatically go to the military. Yet, these elections were widely seen as fraudulent, as the military-backed Union Solidarity and Development Party won 79% of the vote. As a result, pressure continued to mount, and in 2015, free elections were finally held. This election was a major turning point, as Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy won 58% of seats in the House of Representatives and 60% of seats in Myanmar's version of the Senate. In November of 2020, it appeared that Aung San Suu Kyi would continue her democratic rule, as her party won by a landslide for a second time. Yet the hopes of continued democracy were dashed on February 1st of 2021 when the military arrested Aung San Suu Kyi along with many other members of her party. In doing so, they cited the constitutional right for the military to declare national emergencies and said that this one would be in place for 1 year. The military cited election fraud as the reason behind the move, although to date, the civilian-appointed Union Election Commission had not found any irregularities. As part of their takeover, the military has disabled telephone services, blocked the internet, and suspended television broadcasts in an attempt to prevent civilians from coordinating protests. They have also grounded all international flights and closed the country's borders in a bid to ensure that no foreign aid can enter the country. They have even shut down the country economically, as they have temporarily closed both the domestic stock market and commercial banks indefinitely. Yet, this hasn't stopped anti-military protests from occurring, as every day, thousands have been taking to the streets. So, what does the future hold for Myanmar? To determine this, we have to look at a few different factors. The first is the military itself. On the surface, most agree that the reason why they took control was to take back the power that had been lost in the 2015 and 2020 elections. However, if we dive a little deeper, it turns out that part of the reason may be to protect Senior General Min Aung Hlaing, who is the country's commander-in-chief. This is because Myanmar's Defense Services Act mandates that military personnel must retire at the age of 65, meaning that Senior General Hlaing will be forced out of office in July. This is problematic because he was largely responsible for the Rohingya genocide, and as such, once he is out of office, he could be tried for crimes against humanity. Thus, Myanmar's state of emergency will ensure that he is not subject to prosecution. As such, if the law forcing him to retire is altered, it is possible that the military may back down. There is also the fact that the National League for Democracy has circumvented a few rules. You see, Aung San Suu Kyi is extremely popular in the country. Thus, in order to ensure that she could not assume power, the military ruled that anyone with foreign family members is barred from becoming president. Since Aung San Suu Kyi was married to a British man, this meant that she fell under the ban. Thus, in order to circumvent it, the National League for Democracy created the position of State Councillor, allowing her to become the de facto leader of the country without being the president. This understandably angered the military, so if Aung San Suu Kyi were to step down, this could also cause the military to lift the state of emergency. However, it should be noted that efforts to placate the military in the recent past have failed. One of the most striking examples of this occurred during the Rohingya crisis. You see, from 2017 onwards, Myanmar was internationally condemned for engaging in a genocide against the Rohingya Muslims, who are a small minority group within Myanmar. Yet, despite the obvious human rights abuses, Aung San Suu Kyi actually defended Myanmar at the International Court of Justice in 2019. Now, many observers have noted that this was likely done in a bid to appease the military, as it is unlikely that Aung San Suu Kyi actually agreed with what she said. Regardless, it doesn't seem to have mattered, as even her defense of the military hasn't been enough to keep her from getting detained. Therefore, the most likely scenario is that nothing will change. After all, Myanmar's large neighbor, China, has refused to fully condemn the military, which has emboldened them in the face of international pressure. Thus, if history is any indication, Myanmar's army may soon choose to simply slaughter protesters rather than listen to them. If you liked this episode of the Rooster Report, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and comment on what you think will happen in Myanmar. Thank you very much for watching, and we hope to see you again soon.